Southeast Asia is one of the most vulnerable areas in the world to the negative effects of climate change. The region already suffers from innate vulnerabilities to disasters like typhoons and earthquakes due to its geography. But decades of poor policy by states and destructive extraction by corporations have threatened the ability of communities to mitigate and adapt to the worsening impacts of climate change. The ones at the front lines of the fight to mitigate and adapt to these impacts through climate action are environmental human rights defenders. These are individuals and groups who, in their personal or professional capacity and in a peaceful manner, strive to protect and promote human rights relating to the environment, including water, air, land, flora, and fauna. Despite the important work that they do, EHRDs are often under threat from the destructive corporations that they oppose, and by state forces that label them anti-development or anti-progress. In recent years, threats have also taken the form of extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, and criminalization. Criminalization has been the most utilized type of attacks against EHRDs in the region, using various laws. In Cambodia, 5 environmental activists from the organization Mother Nature Cambodia were arrested for allegations of plotting against the government and insulting the king. In Vietnam, environmental lawyer Dang Dinh Bac was imprisoned after allegations of tax fraud. In the Philippines, an indigenous organization, the Cordillera People's Alliance, was falsely designated as a terrorist organization and had its bank accounts frozen. A more diffuse type of attack is enforced disappearance, where a defender is abducted by state or corporate forces and is held indefinitely in an unknown area. Their families, friends, and colleagues have no idea where they are or what to presume of their disappearance. A well-known example is that of Janila Castro and Jed Taman, environmental defenders who were abducted by the Philippine state forces and forced to testify against their will that they were rebel surrenderies. They were eventually able to briefly expose the abduction during a government press conference. In the most extreme cases, EHRDs lose their lives in extrajudicial killings perpetrated by armed state or corporate forces. In 2025, in Indonesia, a member of the indigenous community of the Anak Dalam tribe in Betong Bedara Timur village, Jambi, was beaten to death by security officers during a clash with a palm oil company. A 63-year-old Cambodian environmental journalist known for reporting on illegal logging and environmental crimes in Siem Reap province was shot on December 4, 2024 by a suspected illegal logger. J.L. Maligday, a 21-year-old student and youth leader from the Hanunoo Mangyan tribe in Oriental Mindoro, Philippines, was killed during a military raid. These attacks happen in the context of very poor legal protection mechanisms in most states in Asia. There is a widespread lack of enshrinement of environmental rights in the constitutions of Asian states, and civil and political rights are also not well ingrained into legal systems. Mongolia stands out as an outlier, with a law affording rights to environmental defenders in their country. In most cases, the policies and laws in different countries, whether intentional or not, actually broaden the types of attacks that environmental defenders face. Some examples are the anti-insurgency frameworks in the Philippines, mineral laws in Indonesia, and RED+ development policies in Cambodia. With poor or non-existent protections available, EHRDs in opposition to mining, agribusiness, logging, and large state development projects are made vulnerable to the legal and armed machinery that states and corporations can use to protect their economic interests. This has made the struggle of EHRDs to forward real climate mitigation and adaptation an uphill one. The Civicus Monitor actually characterizes most states in the Asia-Pacific region as obstructed, repressed, or closed civic spaces, meaning there is very little room for civic participation for EHRDs. Attacks, be they lethal or non-lethal, also have had an emotional, mental, and physical effects on not just defenders but the general population in these countries. Spaces for civic participation are gradually shrinking. Despite these challenges, EHRDs continue to struggle. In Indonesia, EHRDs are building a growing body of legal knowledge that they use to combat false charges. In Cambodia, they have combined local knowledge and technology to make forest patrols against destructive projects safer and more efficient. In the Philippines, they utilize creative ways of protest like barricades, community caravans, and collective farming in order to assert their right to protect their land and communities. While EHRDs continue to find ways to strengthen their campaigns, the lack of protection mechanisms at any level remains a real problem. One solution that EHRDs see would be to institute mechanisms at the regional or international levels that can easily be accessed even by grassroots EHRDs, facilitated by bodies like the ASEAN or the UN. Recent experiences have also shown the value of social movements that facilitate collaboration at different levels. Through networks at national and regional levels, EHRDs are able to strengthen campaigns, build solidarity, share practices, and learn from the experiences of other organizations. Defenders from different localities, sectors, and countries are able to unite and pool their capacities to combat the bigger and more systemic issues driving the environmental problems that they face at the local level. Enabling climate action is realized by supporting EHRD's efforts towards real solutions. By strengthening protection mechanisms against attacks and making them accessible, and by building stronger movements of EHRDs nationally, regionally, and internationally. Together, we will fight for climate justice.